my fellow comic book collectors, it's Alan, the Comic Collector Geek, and this is going to be the Friday challenge, but it's a kind of a different challenge than normal. Um, I'm actually going to ask you to do what I did last year. Go back in time and basically show your want list from 2024 and how successful you were about getting your top 10 wants from 2024. So I'm going to show my want list from 2024 and how successful I was with getting my top 10 most desired books for 2024. So I actually gave myself a pretty difficult challenge last year. I was, setting my goals high, and I had 10 books that I really, really wanted to get. And I'm going to show you how well I did in achieving that goal of getting these 10 books. Okay, I'm going to start out with the ones that I didn't get. So there was, as I said, 10 on my list. 3 actually I didn't manage to find. Well, I did find them, but I couldn't afford them. So they were just like too expensive. The first was Superman number 4. That's a book that I want because it's the first, I believe, the first appearance of Lex Luthor in comics. Lex Luthor being Superman's biggest rival and villain. It kind of a major character for Superman fans, and I liked having those major first appearances. I checked the census. I checked the records for when it was published, and it was published first, from what I can see. CGC has it wrong, so I'm putting it out there that I think Superman 4 is the book to have if you want that first Lex Luthor appearance. The next one that I failed to get is Action Comics number 27. This is actually the first cover appearance of Lois Lane. So it's another one. I like Lois Lane. I don't think I'm going to get Lois Lane's first appearance, which is in Action Comics 1. So this is the next best thing as a Lois Lane collector, to get her first cover appearance. So I failed on that as well. The most interesting one that I failed on is a modern book, and it's one that has been plaguing me for a while. I've been looking for this book for many years now, many years, and it's Zombie Tramp number 3. I actually have Zombie Tramp number 1 and a first printing of it signed, but I don't have number 3. So it really drives me crazy not to have one. You're just missing one issue. I mean, the series is like, I think there's like over 100 books in the series, just based on multiple covers and stuff. There's probably more. It's like a whole long box in my closet, and yet one book, Zombie Tramp number 3, is preventing me from having the complete collection. So it's annoying. So yeah, that was one that I really hoped to get, but I failed to get. Now let's get into what I actually did get. So what I actually did get, as I said, was 7 out of the 10. I thought that was a pretty good. It's a C or C plus maybe. I don't know how that works in terms of goals, but A is, I guess, if I got 9 books. But so yeah, so I think I did okay. The first book that I got, not in order of when I got them, but just in terms of how I stacked them over here. The first book that I got was this one. This is Jumbo Comics number 69. Now, this is actually a very cool key book. Matt Baker is an artist that I collect and really enjoy from the Golden Age, and he is a artist who was a black artist who's just like considered to be, I would say, one of the top 3 of the Golden Age artists of all time. So, or maybe even top 3 artists of all time. He's just a great artist. His ability to capture a whole scene with layers within that scene, like just so many things going on, really is second to none. He is a master. And I wanted to get his first foray into actually getting published. And this is the book where his artwork first appeared. and he did work on a character called Sky Girl. So he did all the interior art for it. Actually, the first bit of work, not to criticize him, but mainly the the what they told him to do, was not as interesting. He really made Sky Girl his own character later on. She got much more sexy. She got more fun, more dynamic later on. The first Sky Girls were a little bit weaker. So this one has got a great Sky Girl in it, good splash page as well. But his stuff really gets moving later on. So I actually recommend picking up later issues of Jumbo just for the Sky Girl. Really great artwork by Matt Baker on her. And so if you ever want to get Matt Baker's first published art, well, it's in Jumbo Comics number 69. So I was quite happy to get that. So that's my first one. The next one that was another crazy rabbit hole that I went down was, and this one was just a really crazy rabbit hole. I almost embarrassed about how much of a rabbit hole it was. I wanted to get the first appearance of Popeye. Not just his first comic appearance, but his first appearance. And I actually went out and bought a whole bunch of different things. You can actually see some of them on the wall. I actually thought that book right there was the first appearance. And in some things it says that it's the first appearance. Then I found out that, it's like moving my finger, that kind of, it's like a sketchbook, was maybe his first appearance. And then there's a little thing, it's like a little thingy. Actually, yeah, I have it way over there, but you can't see it. That could be, it was even earlier. And it was like all these things. I would just find one and then I'd buy it. And then I find another that was earlier and then I'd buy that. And, it just was like, man, when is this rabbit hole going to end? And there was actually, it's almost like a well-established one that is his first appearance. And that was this book. This is probably from what I can tell, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole anymore. This is Popeye's first published comics. And this is Thimble Theater #1. Thimble Theater is the really the company that produced his cartoons and his comics. But yeah, so this is Popeye's first comic book appearance. And this is, I believe, from 1931. Yeah, 1931. So really, early on. An interesting thing about Popeye, he's based on a real person. There's a real person that, if you see the picture of the real person, you'd be like, oh, that's Popeye. It's like so funny. He looks exactly like Popeye, same attitude even. Just a really interesting character. So yeah, Popeye's first appearance. So I'm into my key first appearances, and that's this one. I was excited to win this one, but yeah, it was one of those rabbit holes that just never seemed to end. Next book was a different rabbit hole. I went down this weird rabbit hole of trying to pick up Archie related characters. And I was picking up like the first appearance of XYZ character in Archie, like Jughead or Moosehead and Moose, I should say Moosehead. Moosehead's a beer in Canada. Moose, different characters like, Ginger, different characters for Archie. And there was one character that I didn't have their first appearance that I kind of thought would be a cool one to get. And that was Little Jinx. Little Jinx made her first appearance in this comic, which is Pep 62. It's kind of an interesting one. This is early Archie. You can tell because Archie's goofier looking. He's pretty goofy looking in this book. And he's doing like some kind of fun dance with the girl. It's just, I think, it's a great Veronica and Archie cover. You can see the father's not so happy. But just a really great first appearance. Sadly, she's not on the cover, Little Jinx, but she's inside, and this is where she makes her first appearance. Little Jinx will later get her own title, that was short-lived, I believe. But she was a regular feature in Archie Comics. Okay, next one was I really went hard on Golden Age horror related books last year. I really got into it. I don't know why. I sort of went down this rabbit hole of collecting Golden Age horror. I do enjoy it. So I like magic covers and horror mixed together. And one of the best examples of that is this book. And this was one that I struggled to get. Actually, I was really frustrated because there was a claim sale on Instagram that I watched, and the guy had 2 copies of this book, and he said $200, okay, and to whoever claimed it first, and 3 people wrote their names, me and 2 other guys. So the 2 other guys got it. I didn't get it. I was like, oh man. And I think it was just my internet connection was a little slow, and so I missed out. But that was like a really cheap price. That was insane. I think the guy didn't realize how valuable of a book it was. But it's an extremely valuable book. So I missed out on that time. There was a couple auctions that I missed out on it. I was like getting really frustrated. I was like, am I ever going to get this book? This book has been haunting me for a while. But it's a really cool cover, mixture of magic and pre-code horror elements. So it's Weird Mysteries number 6. It's a decapitation cover. It's pretty gruesome. You got the, instead of the rabbit being pulled out of the hat, you got the severed head being pulled out of the hat. So definitely got that pre-code horror elements. Now the copy that I got is pretty low grade, but it presents well. I mean, it has a little bit of issues around this corner, but for the most part, it presents really well, and that's all I care about at the end of the day. Presents well. I'll show you the back. Back's pretty scary too with the Betsy Wetsy. But just a really cool book. I really liked this cover. I was quite excited to get it. And I finally did. So yeah. And it's a Bernard Bailey cover as well. So that's another cool thing going for it. He's considered to be one of the classic pre-code horror artists. Okay. So in that same genre of pre-code horror, I wanted to get some bigger books. So that's actually a big book, but it's not quite, massive. There was a few that I really liked. Same kind of idea, same kind of feel as the Weird Mystery. And this is another severed head one, but this is one where it's inside the bell. And this is Witch's Tales number 25, a classic cover by Howard Norstrand. And this is like got so much going for it. You got this crazy severed head. Awesome. You got this mouse over here. You got this Quasimodo kind of guy. Just a really classic book. Actually, I'm going to take it out of the plastic. I really want to show you. It displays really well. Might not display that well in the plastic, but I'll make it. Yeah, see how nice that is? Just a really, really great copy. I mean, a 4.5. It's a really high grade for this book. Usually they're pretty beat. They're really hard to find, even in mid-grade. And this was a pretty big book for me to pick up. And a great classic pre-code horror cover. What does it say? What happens at 8:30 p.m.? Weird yarns of unseen terrors. Just a classic pre-code horror cover. Got the gore and stuff like that. I mean, this is from 1954. This is like from June of 1954. And the reason I say that date is this is a time period where the code is going to get implemented. This is when the Senate hearings have happened, and they're going to crack down on all this stuff. This is right at the end. They're really pushing the envelope, and this really does push the envelope. So it's just right at the end of the golden age, when they were really going extreme, because they were competing with each other. They're trying to go, who can make the most gruesome or gory cover, and yeah, they went all out. Let's see, I'm trying to get it back in the plastic here. One sec, bear with me. because I have two more books to show, and they're both pretty great. So let's see. I got it in. So the last two books are pretty cool. I'm a big fan of certain characters, especially characters that either watched their TV shows when I was a kid or, you know, just pretended to be even as a kid. And one of the characters that I really liked was the Lone Ranger. I'd wear like a little, it's so easy to be the Lone Ranger as a kid. All you have to do is get like a little one of those little masks, and you run around and shoot, boo, boo. I don't know. That's what you did as a kid. But I wanted to get his first appearance, and actually, his first appearance is quite rare and quite hard to find. His first appearance was in a promotional comic, and it was from 1939. So it's not only the first appearance of the Lone Ranger, it's the first comic devoted to Western storytelling. So Western comics. So that's kind of a double key about the book. And it's this one right here. So this is the Lone Ranger #1. It wasn't, I think it was about 8 years later that he actually made his reappearance in comics. So this is a very early appearance it's his first appearance of Lone Ranger. But as I said, it was like, I think 8 years later that they came out with the Lone Ranger comic series. So very long interval in between. So this was a promotional comic though, for an ice cream company. You can see the ice cream company right there. Their ice cream, and even have the Lone Ranger holding an ice cream cone, which is fun. And it also features the Tonto on the cover as well, which is cool. You got both characters making their first appearance. You got Silver that he's riding as well. All the key characters for the Lone Ranger are on the cover, which is great. And you got to see all the stuff. You can buy all his merch as well on the back. All the Lone Ranger merch. So this was it says on the slab, it says Lone Ranger Inc. 1939. First Western comic book devoted to a single character. First appearance of the Lone Ranger. It's a very cool book. One that's quite hard to find. And it was one that I had wanted. It was on my want list, and I managed to find it. I can find this, but not Zombie Tramp 3, which is insane. It just shows you how crazy Zombie Tramp #3 is. Okay, last book was kind of the big grail. I think this was the number, like I actually showed this before, and I have to, got to get as much use out of, like when you spend a lot of money on a comic, got to get a lot of use out of it, show it as much as possible, all that kind of stuff. I showed this on my top 10 biggest pickups from 2024. But this was also on my want list. This was a book that I had kind of set my goal to get. I didn't actually think I would get it, but I set a goal to get it, and I managed to pick it up. And it's Chamber of Chills #19. To me, and you can argue with me in the comments, this is the book for pre-code horror. It is like the most iconic pre-code horror cover. And I would say it's the #1 pre-code horror cover because it mixes a whole bunch of elements to it. And I'll explain that. One is you have this good girl element, this classy girl, kind of sexy, what she's wearing. She's blonde, smoking, kind of in that elegant style. And then you got the shock value. You got the shock value done several ways. You got this skeleton hand, you even got like a little skull here, but you got the shock value of the fact that when you look through the glass, you see that she is a skeleton as well, or she represents death. And that's very interesting. And it's like this black cover, really, the image on it pops really nicely. Just a really classic pre-code horror cover. And as I said, it's my favorite of all time for pre-code horror covers. So I was very excited to get this in my collection. And reasonably high grade too, 5.5. There was actually after I purchased this, there was a bigger sale, a much bigger sale. So I was lucky in my timing as well. So yeah, it's a classic book. I'll show you the back as well. It's a Lee Elias cover as well. He's kind of one of the masters of pre-code horror covers. To go with this, I actually picked up something else. I want to show it just because. Got to give a little bit of bonus because I've shown that book many times, but I'll give you a little bit of a bonus. I picked up the action figure. You know, got the comic. Got to get the action figure to go with it. So I got the action figure. I'll show you the back as well. So I got the two, and that was, you know, so that was my 2024. I picked up 7 big books out of the 10. I was quite happy. I mean, I didn't really think I had, you know, I really did set high goals. Probably the easiest of the goals was the PEP 62. But you know, these were high goals, and you know, I achieved 70% of it. So next week I will be doing my top 10 wants for 2025. So stay tuned for that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to create a video to kind of participate in this cover challenge, all you have to do is show your top 10 wants from 2024 that you actually picked up. And, you know, if you didn't pick all of them up, that's fine because I didn't pick them all up. So, and then just use the hashtag Friday Comic Challenge and hashtag top 10 2024. I know it's, yeah. So use those 2 hashtags. You can even put a link to me in the description and I'll see the video. So you can do that as well. And that'll be cool because I can see what people were chasing after last year. That'll be fun. So again, thanks for watching and bye for now.